welcome! Today we are taking a very exciting look at the Dart Zone Max Nitroshot Stryker 2.0. Let's jump right in. Included in the box, of course, we have the Stryker 2.0 itself, a buffer tube compatible stock, two sight pieces up here, and the magazine adapter, which we'll talk about more in a minute. We get a muzzle device. This one is just for looks, a 12-round banana magazine, the blaster's cylinder, eye protection, 40 brand new Nitroshot bamboo darts, 2 spare O-rings, the threaded scar barrel, and the instructions. Now let's go over the Stryker 2.0. Starting off, we have 1, 2, and 3 Picatinny rails. The 2 sight pieces on the top, they are fine, but my rear sight piece has a little rattle, and I have to look at that later. Not a huge deal, but I guess worth pointing out. We also get this piece right here, which holds the threaded scar. Because this muzzle is really just for looks, you can take this off, slap the threaded scar in, and now you're going to get a little bit lower FPS numbers, but you will have greater accuracy. Interestingly, the scar barrel doesn't fit super tight in this holder, which is not something I experienced with the Nexus Pro X. That's actually a little bit annoying. I could see that falling out. Back here we have the buffer tube compatible stock. The stock is pretty comfortable but doesn't have any hidden compartments like seen with the Nexus Pro X. The buffer tube on this blaster looks very similar to the one present on the Nexus Pro X, so I'm fairly certain this will take almost all the same upgrades. Pushing from the left side makes your blaster safe, and pushing from the right means you're ready to go. Both the back and front grips are very comfortable. They are also customizable if you happen not to like them. This blaster does have a skinny pusher, so when you're using the magazine, you can take it out at any time. You don't have to have the blaster primed back. By the way, this has the same magazine release setup that the Nexus Pro X did, so you can either use this spot or this release, depending on your preference. But the crazy thing about the Stryker 2.0 is you can also use a cylinder. This makes it feel more like a Tomcat 2.0. To switch to the cylinder, prime the blaster back, remove the magazine, hold down the release, and pull. Then to switch to the cylinder, pull out these 2 orange pieces, and with the blaster still primed back, put in the cylinder. Ensure that both sides are aligned and push until it clicks. Now the drum is kind of interesting because to rotate it freely, they expect you to pull the priming handle all the way back, and as stated in the instructions, push it forward a little bit. Even though you can technically rotate the drum after this, it is very crunchy and not smooth at all. So while definitely a usable design, I would have expected this to be a little bit more refined. But anyway, to fire the blaster, you just simply pull the priming handle back and push it forward. The Stryker 2.0 does have slam fire. I will not actually be aiming for the target because this thing feels pretty powerful. To fire with the magazine, we're just going to prime the handle back, hold down the magazine release, pull the cylinder out, throw the magazine adapter in, insert our standard magazine, and continue firing. It's a little bit smoother when using the magazine because you're not rotating a cylinder. Now let's take the Stryker 2.0 outside and put it over the chronograph. Alright, here we are outside with the Stryker 2.0. We will start out by firing the included Nitroshot bamboo darts. We will fire them with and without the scar barrel. The blaster is claiming 200, 201, 199, 197, 207, and 204. Those are some pretty spicy numbers. But now let's try it with the scar barrel. This is the same one that comes with the Aeon Pro X and Nexus Pro X. We should see a slight decrease in performance. 185, 183, 188, and 214. That 214 felt a little bit out of place, so here is the average with that 214, and here is the average without it. They flew very straight and very far. Now, without the scar barrel, we are going to try some Bamboo 2.0 because they are the light darts, and some standard Dart Zone embers. First, the Bamboo 2.0. 211, 213, 212, 206, 202, and 231. I don't know what's up with these last darts, but that is pretty impressive. Now on to the Ember darts. 226. 194. 227. 223. 194. And 207. That performance was kind of wild, all over the place. Now I'm gonna fire a bunch of random shots downrange. This thing definitely has power, and while not quite as smooth as the Nexus Pro X, it is still a very smooth operation. So what are my final thoughts on the Stryker 2.0? This thing is a pretty interesting blaster because it definitely feels more like a Tomcat 2.0. People in the community were already doing similar things to the Tomcat, but the ability to switch between standard magazines and a cylinder out of the box is just really cool. This blaster can fill two very distinct roles. For that, it has my total appreciation. The power is definitely there, and the operation is pretty smooth. Ergonomics on this blaster are also pretty nice. For $50, you really can't go wrong with the Stryker 2.0. But strangely, this blaster doesn't have me as compelled as some previous Dart Zone offerings. It just feels like there are some tolerance issues. For one thing, this scar barrel does not fit very well in the place that holds it. Unlike what was on the Nexus Pro X, this one does not do a good job. My top sights were also pretty loose, more than usual, and like I pointed out earlier, one of mine had something rattling around inside. I went to unscrew it to take that piece out, but it turned out that it was solvent welded, so I could not stop the rattle. But the thing that bugs me a little bit more about the Stryker 2.0 is the fact that it feels a little bit under what the other Dart Zone Pro blasters are as far as plastic quality. The plastic quality is not terrible, but at $50, the Nexus Pro X is the same price and feels a lot more sturdy than the Stryker 2.0. This blaster just doesn't feel super robust in certain areas. So that is all worth noting, and that's basically all the negatives I have on the Stryker. Considering the negatives, I think the positive aspects about the Stryker 2.0 much outweigh them. This is a dual-purpose blaster. It fills two different roles very well. If you are looking for a very powerful, comfortable pump-action Springer for a low price, the Stryker 2.0 is a really great option. With that said, do I personally like it better than the Nexus Pro X? For me personally, I prefer the Nexus Pro X. That blaster is just super well refined. But the Stryker 2.0 is certainly not a bad blaster. This one is going to be very popular, I'm sure, for many people. If you are interested in the Stryker 2.0, I will have the link in my description. Thank you very much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Stryker 2.0. Subscribe for more, and happy blasting.